Have you ever imagined waking up to find your country no longer exists? No war, no invasion, no warning, just gone from the map. This isn't a science fiction story. It's something that truly happened in modern history. A nation that disappeared overnight, peacefully. This is the story of Czechoslovakia, the country that chose to vanish. A place once united by hope, divided by destiny, and remembered for grace. Its journey from creation to disappearance reveals how fragile nations can be, and how powerful peace can become when politics turn uncertain. Let's rewind to the year 1918. World War I had just ended, leaving Europe in ruins. Empires like Austria-Hungary and Germany were collapsing. Out of this chaos, new countries were born, including Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia united two main peoples, the Czechs and the Slovaks. They shared a dream of independence, equality, and democracy. Prague became the capital, a city full of art, science, and industry. Factories, universities, and theaters made the nation one of Europe's brightest stars. During the 1920s and 1930s, Czechoslovakia was an island of democracy. Surrounded by growing dictatorships, it stood proudly for freedom. But danger was near. The rise of Adolf Hitler changed everything. In 1938, Nazi Germany demanded the Sudetenland, a border region with many ethnic Germans. The world hoped to avoid war. Britain and France forced Czechoslovakia to surrender its land to Hitler. This betrayal was called the Munich Agreement. Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain called it peace for our time, but it was anything but peace for Czechoslovakia. The following year, Germany invaded the rest of the country. Czechoslovakia was wiped off the map for the first time. The Nazis occupied the Czech lands, while Slovakia became a puppet state. Thousands were imprisoned, deported, or killed. World War II turned the dream of freedom into a nightmare. When the war ended in 1945, Czechoslovakia was reborn. The people rebuilt their cities, their schools, and their spirit. But new troubles emerged, this time from the east. The Soviet Union's influence spread across Eastern Europe. By 1948, a communist coup took over the government. Freedom vanished again, replaced by one-party rule. The next 4 decades were marked by fear, censorship, and secret police. Yet deep inside, the people never stopped dreaming of liberty. In 1968, that dream flared up again as the Prague Spring. Reformers led by Alexander Dubček tried to bring socialism with a human face. They allowed free speech, art, and press for the first time in years. But Moscow saw it as a threat and sent in tanks. The Soviet invasion crushed the Prague Spring in just a few days. Dubček was arrested, reforms were reversed, and fear returned. The world watched in silence as freedom was buried once again. But under the surface, the fire of hope still burned. 2 decades later, the world was changing again. The Berlin Wall was trembling, and the Soviet Union was weakening. In 1989, protests erupted in Prague and Bratislava. Students, workers, and families filled the streets with candles and songs. They chanted, "Truth and love must triumph over lies and hatred." That moment became the Velvet Revolution. No shots were fired, no blood was shed. The regime simply fell. Czechoslovakia became free again after 40 years of darkness. But the story didn't end there. After the revolution, old questions reappeared. Czechs and Slovaks had different languages, economies, and political visions. The Slovaks wanted more autonomy. The Czechs wanted efficiency and stability. The unity that once felt natural began to strain. The leaders of both nations, Václav Klaus and Vladimir Mečiar, faced a decision. Should they fight to stay together or agree to separate peacefully? Instead of anger, they chose dialogue. They negotiated carefully, no violence, no hatred. And in 1992 they agreed to a peaceful split. The world called it the Velvet Divorce, gentle, elegant and historic. At midnight on December 31st, 1992, Czechoslovakia ceased to exist. Two flags were raised instead, one for the Czech Republic, one for Slovakia. People went to sleep in one nation and woke up in two. There were tears, confusion and nostalgia, but also pride. Because for once a breakup didn't bring pain, it brought peace. The split was so calm that even families with mixed heritage stayed united. Trade continued, friendships endured and history moved on. The Czechs focused on technology, tourism and design. The Slovaks built new industries, energy projects and cultural pride. Both nations eventually joined the European Union and NATO. Today their capitals, Prague and Bratislava, are only 3 hours apart. Citizens travel freely, study together, and often speak both languages. In many ways, they remain closer than ever before. It's a reminder that separation doesn't always mean division. Sometimes it's a new chapter written in peace. But not every story of a disappearing country ends this way. Many nations fade through war, colonization, or collapse. Yet Czechoslovakia's disappearance was unique. It was voluntary. It's a symbol of maturity in politics and society. The story also teaches us about identity. A flag or border can change overnight, but culture lives on. The Czech and Slovak people still share songs, food and memories. Their children grow up learning that history is not about endings, it's about choices. Imagine if more nations handled their differences this way. No bombs, no hatred, no walls, just understanding. Czechoslovakia proved that peace can be powerful, that nations can change shape without losing their soul. The world rarely rewards silence, but in 1992, silence was victory. The quiet night when Czechoslovakia disappeared became a lesson in wisdom. It showed that even the end of a country can be beautiful, because it gave birth to two nations that still stand proudly today. So the next time you hear about a country breaking apart, remember this story. Remember that not all separations are tragedies. Sometimes they are signs of growth and courage. And sometimes the most powerful revolutions happen without a single sound. Czechoslovakia may have disappeared from the map, but it never disappeared from the hearts of its people. Its legacy continues in art, in culture, in every peaceful choice. It is and always will be the country that disappeared overnight.